I want your insight on this. How far can this defense take this team in 2025?
Yeah, my only concern, I think, at this point is the cornerbacks. But when you have a pass rush that speeds it up so much, maybe that's not a concern at all. Evan Williams, obviously a safety, not a corner, but I was talking to him and I said, do you realize who got the pressure on your interceptions? And he said, I didn't, but I know it came out fast. And I said, well, it was Parsons. And he goes, well, that makes sense. So, those guys are aware that it's going to help them. The interesting thing I thought is that right away, we already saw some evolution from Jeff Hafley because Lucas Van Ness, if he took 5 snaps inside as a defensive tackle in training camp, there wasn't many more than that. And right away, we see him inside on third downs with Parsons and Rashawn Gary. So, Lucas Van Ness is a guy who probably had the most to lose personally in this. Basically lost sort of his job to Micah Parsons, yet Jeff Hafley already came up with a way to get him and all 3 of those guys on the field, which I think is a good sign for maybe what could evolve even more.
Rob, I thought Detroit looked terrible. How much do you chalk up to the 2 new coordinators, or is Green Bay now just a better team?
Yeah, it's a great question, Chewy, and I thought the same thing as I was writing last night, thinking, Packers seemed really good, but this Detroit team looked nothing like the Detroit teams that have handled them the last couple of years. They didn't seem overly tough. They didn't seem overly athletic. They didn't seem overly daring. I thought Jared Goff looked very, very ordinary. So I wonder if they're just still going through some growing pains with their coordinators, or, did their team just kind of get old and maybe, it's passed them by and they missed their best opportunity. It's a great question.
Micah Parsons, your thoughts?
I've never seen, Gabe, sort of the pomp and circumstance around any player in Green Bay like this. And that includes, Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, Reggie White, Charles Woodson. Like, this is, they've gone out of their way to make this guy like the guy, which is un-Packers like, right? The whole letting him come out last and being introduced last. That's not the kind of stuff the Packers typically don't make it about, one guy, and they've embraced it, which, I guess is somewhat refreshing in that regard. For as far as debuts go, if he didn't have that sack at the end, do we look at it a little differently? And look, let's face it, that sack was a little bit in garbage time. But I do think the guy, sacks and quarterback hits aside, I do think he brings 2 things. He brings juice, and he brings credibility that the other players really respect.
How long do you think it's going to take him to get up to speed where he's playing the full amount of snaps that he wants to and is having the impact that he wants to and Jeff Hafley wants him to have?
I'd say week 3. It's going to be tough to ask, much of him this week with the quick turnaround. And look, that last series he was on the field, he was gassed. And I said to the guys sitting around me in the press box, I'm like, just get him out of there at this point. The game's over. He looks tired. Don't get him hurt. And then the short turnaround to Thursday is not going to help. But I would say after the mini bye, as long as he comes through the game fine, Gabe, and there was no indication that the back gave him any troubles. He did not end up having an injection at all. And he said he didn't need one, didn't feel like he needed anything. But I would think, was it week 3 at Cleveland? Let him go.
Yeah.
Rob Demovsky hanging out with Jen, Gabe, and Chewy. He's going to join us each and every week during the Packers season, which we hope goes a very, very, very long time. Settle a debate for us, Rob. Okay? Joshy believes that eventually Matthew Golden is going to emerge as the number 1 wide receiver. Chewy points to the box score, which shows 10 different guys catching passes from Jordan Love yesterday. That recipe certainly worked. Matthew Golden, for whatever it's worth, 2 receptions on 2 targets, 16 yards, an average of 8 per catch. His long was 11. How do you think this is going to shake out? Will they continue to do this by committee thing as the season goes on, or do you see Golden emerging as the bona fide number 1?
Yeah, I did the same thing Chewy did. I pulled up the box score, Jen, and you look at it. Jaden Reed had the most targets at 5. Now, they only had, I think it's 48 plays,
47,
which is
yeah.
Yeah, it was real. I mean, I don't remember a play count that low. So I do think it will improve just because they're going to have more opportunities. Love threw it 22 times and they ran it 25 times. So yes, the sports writer math is 47. But I don't know. It's at this point, I can't sit here and say, yeah, by week 7 or whatever, they're going to have a number one receiver. I'm not sure they will, Jen. I think that this is kind of what they are, and this is kind of what or Matt, I almost said Mike McCarthy, Matt LaFleur
No, to
wants
be fair, he
wants
was
it to
there.
be.
He was
Yeah,
there. So
that was quite a moment too for Mike.
Rob, how serious are the injuries to Banks and Tom on a short
Yeah.
week?
It's a big concern for the short week for sure. Maybe not long term. Chewy Banks has been a guy that's been banged up,
Yeah.
basically ever since he got here. Had a couple different injuries in camp, so there's some concern there. Zach Tom, like it wasn't quite the Warren Sapp like get whacked in the side because it was friendly fire from Jordan Love, but the play had sort of elements of the Warren Sapp hitting Chad Clifton. I had like a little flashback to it. It was an interception return, and an offensive lineman gets caught up. I will say both of those guys stayed on the sideline. Zach Tom was riding the bike. He was actually on the sideline working on his drop. Like he was in his stance and he was kind of working on his drop, his pass protection. So I thought that was a good sign. But for Thursday night, it could be an issue.
Rob, late in the game, it seemed after the near interceptions thrown by Jordan Love, one was dropped, the other nullified by penalty. Matt LaFleur kind of went, okay, the only way we're losing this is if we're going to turn the ball over. And they went run heavy. Do you think that was the smart way to go, or did LaFleur just get a little too conservative?
The dropped interception, like, I wasn't in. Yeah, I wasn't in Jordan's press conference. I was in the locker room talking to guys, and I went back and read the transcript, and I'm not sure he was asked about it. I'll have to go back and double check, but I would love to know what was it. It almost looked like he was trying to throw it away, and he was trying to throw it between two receivers, and he couldn't figure out where to miss it, which was obviously a problem. I think at the end they just wanted to get Josh Jacobs going because in the first half he couldn't do anything. I think they wanted to establish somewhat the run game. Jacobs, he did pretty well in the second half to end up with 66 yards or so, out of that.
on 19 carries.
Ended up averaging 3.5 yards a carry. For a while, he was averaging like 0.9 yards a carry. He got a lot of those yards after contact, which I think is kind of what he does anyway. But I think it was LaFleur. I don't know. It was him getting gun shy about the interceptions. I just think he needed to get and felt like he wanted to get the run game going this week.
All right, Rob Demovsky, you are, of course, in the locker room. You're at Lambeau Field. Anything you noticed about the team, anything that really stood out to you that maybe you haven't seen as many people talking about? Admittedly, there's a lot to talk about, but was there anything that you were like, this is interesting, I'm going to follow up on this?
Yeah, well, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with Parsons at the beginning. I went over and talked to Lucas Van Ness. No one was talking to him after the game. I get it. Everyone was going to Parsons, but Van Ness is a guy who probably, sort of suffered the most by Micah Parsons' arrival. And Van Ness was great about it. He still thinks he's going to have a big impact. And Parsons, this is a direct quote from Parsons about Van Ness. He said, I think Van Ness is going to have his best year yet, and I'm going to make sure of that. That guy, he's very selfless. He's a very selfless player. To me, I just think that's sort of it's not necessarily Micah Parsons related, but it's Micah Parsons tangentially related, and I just thought that was really interesting. Lucas Van Ness had the most pressures of anybody yesterday. He had 4 of them.
Rob, the biggest takeaway from the game was was no pressure by the Detroit defensive line. What was your take on Hutchinson? Is it going to take him a little time to come up to speed after last year's season-ending injury, or is he just didn't seem like the same player?
No, he definitely didn't. That was obviously a really bad injury, and it'll be interesting to watch that as it goes on, because this is a guy who is obviously a great player, but Packers offensive line did a pretty good job against him, at least in pass protection.
Who impressed you most in the interior of the defense? Because, again, everybody's excited about Micah, but you did lose the veteran in Kenny Clark, and they held up. They were tremendous against the run yesterday.
Yeah, why all those guys? Colby Wooden was probably, to me, the biggest surprise game. I probably shouldn't admit this because it makes me look like an idiot, but I did not have Colby Wooden on my last 53-man roster projection. I didn't think they were going to keep 6 defensive tackles, and I knew they were going to keep the draft pick, who, by the way, was inactive. I knew they were going to keep Stackhouse, who was undrafted but active instead of the draft pick. And, I thought, okay, who's the odd man out here? Now, they ended up keeping 6, maybe because they knew Kenny Clark was the guy that the Cowboys wanted if they were going to end up making a trade. So I guess I'll admit my bad on that, but I thought Colby Wooden was outstanding yesterday, especially for a guy who I apparently didn't think was going to make the team.
Rob, how excited are you for Monday Night Football tonight to watch the other 2 teams in the division, the Bears and the Vikings, go at it and really get a good sense of where the Packers shake out, where they line up in this NFC North?
It's going to be great, too, because I felt like in week 1, the standalone or the big time slot games were really good. But, man, the noon games yesterday, I know the Rodgers game was exciting, but there weren't a lot of great games in the noon window, just not a lot of great teams. So, I thought the Thursday night game, the Friday night game, the Packers 325 games, the marquee slots were all really good games. So hopefully that week 1 ends with a good one Monday night. And look, JJ McCarthy is maybe the greatest unknown in the NFL right now. And that's really going to be interesting to see.
And meanwhile, there is an article by Ty Dunn about Caleb Williams and I'm sure you got to peruse through it. We were saying that, man, how about the Schartenfarter for Packers fans reading through the dysfunction that allegedly went on over the last year or so with Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears? That was fun, right?
Yeah, I read right up until the paywall kicked in, and then I was blocked out. So,
but you got a good sense of what the rest of the article.
I'm not paying. No, sorry, Ty, I'm not paying. I'm trying to keep my retirement going. I'm trying to retire in a few years.
You know what though? That's a really good. I'm going to do this. I'm sorry, I know we're up against it, but what did you make of Matt LaFleur's comments yesterday about the Lions fans at Lambeau Field?
Yeah, I heard you guys talking about it in the previous segment, and I don't know that there's a great real life comparison, but the only thing that popped into my head was, let's say I bought a car and I let you drive it, and that would almost be like the dealer saying, "No, I sold you the car. Jen's driving your car. I'm taking your car." I know that's not exactly like the same, but that was the thing that popped into my head. It's a hard call for the Packers. It's a hard call for fans. Tickets are really, really expensive. I get it. I think in a perfect world, you'd like fans to sell to other fans. Like that would be the perfect world. But if they're going to sell their tickets, I don't know. I don't necessarily think it's right just to take them away. Now, if you never go to a game, maybe you issue a warning and say if you don't, then this is going to happen. There's a buddy of mine up here, Kyle Cousineau. He on Facebook, he always says, "Hey, if you're going to sell your tickets, I will find a Packers fan that's going to buy your tickets for you," because he wants to make sure that there's not a ton of the visiting colors, which, by the way, Chewy, that looks a little bit like Hawaiian blue there on your sweatshirt.
Oh, yeah, I never thought of that.
And he doesn't care for whatever it's worth. You know what I was thinking is Matt LaFleur's got a chunk of change. Maybe Matt LaFleur starts buying the tickets. Yeah. Maybe Matt LaFleur starts, distributing the tickets, like Kyle does up in Green Bay.
There you go.
Bothers him so much.
Matt LaFleur ticket broker on the side.
Yeah, side hustle, of course. We all have side hustles. All right, Rob, we really appreciate you hanging out with us. Very much looking forward to having you join us every single Monday. Or is it after the game day? How do we have it structured?
Monday.
That's a great question. I don't know how I think it's fluid.
We just throw up the Rob signal and he responds like Batman.
Yeah. Josh I love the intros, but man, that's last year's intro. What are we doing here?
Hey.
Once again, Rob.
Cracking. He's cracking the whip.
We did this last time. You have to speak on the show for me to
Yeah,
give you
you know what? You know what? You're right. You are 100% right.
This is very much like
I
the
don't
ticket thing. He's
So if I
Matt LaFleur
say-
chastising you. Meanwhile, you're like, I sell the tickets so that I can pay for the season tickets.
If I didn't say anything good on this for an intro, then what kind of intro are we going to have next time? That's not going to be very good.
You might have earned a repeat. I don't know. I haven't evaluated.
We're going to get
All
back.
right,
We're going to look at the tape. We're going to evaluate. And we're going to try to get better.
He's
what,
not
I
a
need to
grinder
look at
like
the
me and
tape,
you,
too.
Rob.
Self-scout. So I'll have the bye weekend the next week, the mini bye, to self-scout my appearances on the
Tell you what, I can tell you which direction Joshy's leaning right now. Take a break here on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy.
Hey guys, it's Jen from Jen, Gabe, and Chewy. Thanks for watching our clip. I'm sure it was super informative and educational. I'm just kidding. I love those knuckleheads. And we do it live every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. on 94.5 ESPN Milwaukee. Make sure that you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you get informed anytime we drop new content.